as usual. I've been kind of busy with a few things, so we'll let these notifications kind of come out real quick, and we will chat UFOs, UAP, and all paranormal stuff, and any other questions you guys may have or want to talk about when you guys come on. Still, you guys several interviews. I got a couple people lined up. I just haven't been able to allocate time to get all the software set up for it, but we'll give this a minute, see if these notifications and stuff go out, and go from there. It's probably going to take it a minute for stuff to come out. So we'll see how this rolls out in just a minute. I think someone just joined, so I do see one person joining. So that is a good thing. We know notifications are going out. We'll give it some time. These live videos are never the best in the world. So who is that? What's going on? I think it's Riot Place. Okay, yeah. So they are going out. Sometimes when I do these lives on my phone, it's kind of hard for me to read the comments. But I do have some software, and I actually have a guy that wants to come on here and do an interview. I got to get all the information. I've been looking at his channel and looking at some of the videos and stuff that he has out there. He films a lot of interesting stuff out there, and he kind of wants to get on and talk to you guys about all that. So a couple people are joining in, so we'll see what's going on here. What's going on? Yeah, it is Hump Day. It is Wednesday, so I appreciate you guys joining in. If you guys can smash that like button for me, I'd greatly appreciate it. Been kind of busy with a lot of things, so I haven't really been able to do too much on the channel lately. But I'm gonna try to do at least one day a week. I'm gonna try to do a longer video, and then I'll have videos throughout the week for it. So we'll see how all that goes through. So able to discuss disclose. Yeah, this is the open chat. Whatever you guys want to talk about. I mean, if you have information out there, we can do that as well. I can talk about a few things as well. It's pretty much an open chat just to see how you guys are, if you guys are engaged in this, and then we'll continue to go. I know there was I can't remember the guy's name or the channel, but a guy came on an FBI channel, or an FBI agent came on a channel a couple of weeks ago. He actually did a really good interview, and he talked about why the government was labeling things as UAPs and the difference between a UFO and a UAP. And I thought that was interesting. I think I talked about that before. A guy back in the 90s said the real UFOs that you guys may see out there, the ones that are not ours, are going to look funny in shape. They're going to be kind of distorted and stuff like that. So we got somebody in from the UK. There's Dean in from the UK. How you doing? Appreciate you chiming in. And then he said the UAP was kind of a new terminology that they're kind of used to. I think he said to define some of the craft that we've either created or we've reverse engineered. So it's a pretty interesting interview. I probably need to sit down and at least give you guys a link at some point in time and just do a quick overview and give a credit, of course, to the guy's channel so you guys can go over there and check that out. But I thought that was very interesting. He did talk about several things. Now, I looked at the comments from that channel. He did talk about how he felt it was weird, or some of the people in the comments thought it was weird that he could talk about this stuff, being a former FBI agent and FBI investigator, and still be alive. Maybe they let him out and talk about stuff. I don't know, but he did mention some other things, but he did talk about how he kind of got involved in the paranormal research and stuff like that. So it was interesting, but he did confirm kind of what a lot of us know, that the real UFOs are the ones that kind of look weird. And he did talk a little bit. I think he did mention kind of about them being interdimensional or something. But he said the ones that we see shaped and stuff are more than likely ours. And he did confirm a couple of things like that. So I thought that was pretty interesting there. I know we're on the, what is it, the 50th anniversary of Roswell. So I'm surprised more, 51st actually coming up this July. I'm surprised more people haven't actually come forward, especially with Congress saying that they pass something legislation to say pilots can't actually come out and talk about this stuff and don't have to worry about any repercussions for it. So I'm surprised more people have not come out, or maybe they're out there and they're going to be in a lot of interviews. I know Dr. Stephen Greer, he's got a documentary coming out. I think it's in June. And in that documentary, he's going to talk about disclosure. He's going to have several things in there. He's actually going to have, I did a video about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago of three alleged alien photos and them operating on one. And he's going to have one of those photos in there in that documentary. He's going to talk about that. So that'll be pretty interesting when the documentary comes out. I think they're still doing fundraisers to be able to get that done, but I think they were trying to find somebody to, talk throughout the video. So I think they found someone. So they're probably in the final stages of it. But that'll be pretty interesting. He said he's going to talk about ARVs, alien reproduction vehicles. If you guys don't know those, of course, as it says, alien reproduction vehicle, it's a vehicle they reproduce using our materials or try to, replicate it. But I've also heard that term, and it's called RAM. I think it's replicated alien machine. So I've heard two terminologies for it, ARV and then also RAM. So, but anyway, I'm blabbing and blabbing. What do you guys want to discuss? I know there's a couple people on here, so so you did say able to discuss public and yeah, but do you have anything to discuss or disclose? I do have on a old 20-year-old computer. I have some documents from the original 1970s photos from the moon landing. I need to go into it. That thing will never touch the internet at all. I'll never fire it up, put that on the internet. But I do have those. I do remember someone talking about a long time ago. You can actually see some of the dome structures and stuff in some of those original photos. I just need to fire that thing up and figure out what's going on. Heck, maybe I got some Bitcoin on it. That'd be pretty cool, right? So anyway, what's up with you guys out there? No one's saying anything. This is a first. You guys just want me to continue to rabble on and talk and all that, or talk about some of the stuff I know, disclosures that I may know of or something. I don't know. Christopher says multiple lights at 5 a.m. the other day, morning above my home. Amazing. Hopefully you got some photos or videos of that. You guys feel free. There's somebody that sent me some photos the other day, and I couldn't see them. They were so blurred and distorted. I couldn't even see them. But he saw something, but I didn't see it. So, is disclosure the right word to use or revelation? That is true. Um, Probably either or. Since everybody's familiar with the word disclosure, it's probably better just to use that. You know, just put the. They just need to put the information out there. I mean, we all know what's going on. We all who are on this channel have seen something in our lifetime, and I think everybody at some point in time has seen something in their lifetime, and it's time to just start letting this information out. I understand that if they do let it out and people find out about free energy and all this other stuff, it could it could actually crash the economy. So I understand that part of it because the way a lot of these craft fly, they kind of recycle energy, high voltage. They just it's a couple things that they use, and it would, of course, if we find out we can, use free energy or use 1/100th of the energy that we use to power our houses and cars and stuff, the economy would actually turn upside down. I mean, then they no longer you could be ruled or governed by financial assets like that. You wouldn't work just to keep your house going, so it'd be a lot different. But it would probably be close to a Star Trek type society, right? A cashless society, which would be pretty interesting. So we got stars and night vision in from Spain. What's going on? So I did watch and somebody else had an interview with Dr. Stephen Greer. I thought that was because he actually talked about some very interesting stuff. He didn't go into, his contact with these particular beings. He actually went into information as far as what he knows. And like I said, he's got a documentary coming out soon on that. So you guys are going to see me continue to lean forward to try to read some of these comments. 3D view. Woo, woo. So Christopher's talking about what he saw. He said he couldn't believe it. Sport, blah, 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 etc. I was curious and nervous at the same time. It happened unexpectedly. I'm still in shock from what I saw. Have you ever seen CE5 contact? I have not. And I think that's what you just described as far as what you saw. That is one reason why I think a lot of the more authentic videos of UFOs are distorted, kind of shaky or whatever like that, because it happens so unexpectedly. But I have noticed that if you really want to film UFOs, you need to go to an air show, or you need to start filming airplanes just flying in the sky, because a lot of people that have caught some of the, to me, some of the more amazing videos have caught it at air shows, have caught it at airplanes. You guys saw the video I did several months ago where it was an airplane flying, and then there was a cloud right here, and the UFO just flew straight through the cloud and flew right in front of the aircraft. So it's like they fly around, and of course they know the aircraft are there. I don't know how their calculations go about it, but I think if anybody wants to see or film one, that is just go outside and start filming some stuff, start filming some airplanes and stuff like that. And I think you'll start seeing them flying and zipping around. And why they do that, I have no idea. So a couple comments coming in. Like I said, I'm filming this on my phone, trying to go live with this. If you pay attention to the way William Cooper, Behold a Pale White Horse, describes the way the UFOs entered and exited the water, and it's very similar to the way, yep, Bob Lazar sport model function, yep. Do I follow Weaponize? I saw they posted something the other day. I haven't been keeping up to it too much. I'm going to try to keep up with that just a little bit. Maybe after they do their episode, maybe I'll put something out so you guys can comment. I think sometimes when they put comments on his channel for that, they don't always get back to it. But yeah, you're right. With what he saw, basically, if you guys haven't read his book, it's called William Cooper's Behold a Pale White Horse. And he basically talked about, and you guys correct me if I can remember this, but he basically talked about what he saw. We got someone in here from England, JPN from England. Cool. I appreciate that. I know some people will find this channel controversy because some of the stuff, I just put out what's out there, and I put out what some people think are UFOs, which most of them are not. But I don't want to convince you guys that they're not, because just like who was it, Billy Meyer? I believe he saw something. I personally don't believe in all his videos. I do believe a couple of things he photographed and shot was authentic and real, but I believe he did see something. But I think that he tried to recreate some of the stuff he saw, and that's just me personally. I know there's a lot of Billy Meyer followers and all that stuff out there, but that's just me personally on that, with that. But William Cooper, I don't even know if the Y-Files, and that's maybe something they should tackle, a William Cooper video. Maybe I should tackle it, but it's a lot of research and studying to do on that. And I know he's probably got stuff in his archive he's doing, but that'd be a pretty interesting Y-Files episode if he ever does it, is to do something like that. So I know there's a couple more comments coming in. I'm going to zoom this in. You guys get to see a close-up of me. Christopher talked about his experience. The more I saw, this is looking at the sky multiple. Man, I wish you would have filmed that. That would have been so good if you would have filmed that. So I'm reading, you said you worked at Kodak and you made a projector using a laser with 4K. It was a black projector that never released back in 2008. It was funded by 3D development. Oh, cool. I did not watch that Pentagon report. I just saw snippets of it. It's been interesting. It's like almost like a movie. It's like to me, a trailer for a big movie that's going to be released. They show you a little bit, but then they really don't show you anything. Or they say, this is all we got. They have, even that's been released to the public, they have more footage out there that they could show to us of stuff that they've seen. Like I did a video a couple days ago of the little cylinder ball, whatever. It probably wasn't little, that was floating in the air. And actually, you guys let me know what you think about this, because someone had said something. I see your comment too. Was I able to, have I seen or watched Disclosure? I have watched that. About that, about, for instance, when these pods, I've done several videos on them, and I just didn't want to put it out there because it's he say, she say. But someone said to me, when we see those particular objects flying in the air, and they're small, and they're probably about the size of maybe about half size of a Volkswagen or something. He said they're actually transporting objects from A to B. He said they could be transporting elements or whatever, and it's going from A to B. It's not really scanning stuff. They're just sending something from one place to another. And that was one of the ways they could go about doing that. How true that is, I do not know, but I wouldn't put it past it. But he said they basically have something, they put that in there, kind of like the FedEx of the UFO world. How true that really is, guys, I don't know. But I thought that was interesting because they're never large enough to actually fit something inside of it. And they are drone. We would figure they're drone inside. People say maybe they're scanning the Earth, but we've scanned the Earth millions of times. Why we have to have something like that to fly around to scan the Earth? But that was just something that somebody said to me. So, but back to you guys' questions. You guys let me know what you think about that. So, Christopher, they're asking where you saw your UFO at. Where did you see that at that you saw it the other night? Good Messu says a friend of mine saw a UFO up close back in the 80s and it simply vanished. Ever heard anything like that? Yeah, I mean, it could have vanished because it just flew away so quick. I mean, that could have been one of the reasons why it just completely disappeared. And y'all got to excuse me. This is supposed to be my blue screen background, but it's not working. So, JP said, "Do you think aliens will officially show themselves to us? I generally don't think humanity will be able to accept it." We've been thinking about that for a while, JP, and I think that the media and everything has kind of poisoned us to think why they haven't showed themselves to us. Like people think they keep talking about the Star Trek initiative, but this isn't Star Trek. You know that they shouldn't intervene with human mankind, all that stuff. You would think and know that if a large alien race probably did come here, they would probably show them. I mean, they wouldn't travel all this time just to be hiding and only show themselves at night. So there's something else going on with that that we don't know about, but we'll see. So Mr. M asked what my most convincing story or video was. I don't know if you want to hear my personal story. I've talked about it before, or just videos and stuff. I mean, I remember seeing the design for the stealth fighter or the B-2 bomber. I saw a black and white video of it, and it was taken in 1939, but it was propeller driven, and that's what amazed me about it. Um, and that's what had made me think of, was it Chuck that saw the first term for UFO or something like that? That's what made me think he saw something similar to that. He's flying an airplane that's only going about 150, maybe 200 miles per hour, and then you see these jets fly past you. I'm thinking maybe he saw something like that because what he drew was boomerang in shape. So when I saw that video, that pretty much amazed me right there because that was 1939 and it had three propellers on each end and it was actually going and taking off, but it was very unstable. Because at that time, of course, they didn't have any computers that can do the calculations and stuff like they can today. So as far as I guess seeing some videos that, and then the Skinny Bob video, I personally believe that's kind of why this shirt came from, the UFO conspiracies and stuff. That's the logo and stuff for it, because I do believe that is actually a video of a alien, interdimensional, whatever we're trying to call it, being with that. So. I have not looked into that ancient Indian book. I'm gonna mess that name up, so I'm not even gonna try to butcher it. But you guys can see Dean put that out there. It speaks of flying machines. Called is, how does that pronounce? Vimana? I think the first time I may have heard something like that. I think the Wi-Fi's may have talked about that. He's got some pretty interesting stuff on his channel. So Christopher saw his in Cumberland, Maryland, in Western Maryland. That's where he saw his UFO last night. So Stan Ivich says Westfall. He's got a couple of them. The aerial school cases are the most convincing. So, I mean, they're all testimonies. I know Eyes on Cinema does a lot of testimonies. He puts those out there. So that's always interesting to see. The testimonies of people are pretty cool, but we also want to see some video evidence. I know he gets his archives from certain other places, and I'm not going to talk about that because that's what he does for his channel, which is cool. I mean, he has little snippets and stuff, and I know he did have some issues at some point in time. I'm not sure how he got through the YouTube copyright though, with that, because he just straight plays the videos. He doesn't do any editing. He doesn't review them. He doesn't do the things that YouTube tells you to do. And I know he did have a problem at some point in time. So yeah, Christopher, that's pretty amazing when you see something like that. I told you guys I saw one with a friend years and years ago. It was coming outside of her place, and it was up in the sky, and it was just I can still see the bluish whitish, and it was bright. I mean, the bluish whitish, like almost greenish color. It was a color you can't really describe. And I remember there's a guy named Dean Braxton, and I'm gonna tell you guys this, whether you believe it or not, it's up to you. But he basically died and he went to heaven. He was dead for clinically dead for about an hour and a half, and he went to heaven. But he described what he saw in heaven. And what amazed me was that he talked about, of course, how God is always creation. He's constantly creating colors. And then he referred back to particular things in the Bible where he said when people talked about things, they said it's like this, it's like that. And he says he sees why they say that because there was nothing down here to describe it. And he says he saw colors that were just he couldn't even describe the color because it's something that he had never seen before. We're on what a 7 color spectrum, and from those 7 colors, we get everything we have around here. So it wouldn't surprise me that when we see these particular craft, if they're interdimensional or they're from another planet, they're not bound by the spectrum of colors we have down here on Earth. They're not in that particular covenant because, whether you guys want to believe it or not, in the Bible it says when God destroyed the earth with water, he made a rainbow, kind of a covenant to never do it before, but that also showed the 7 colors. And there's people that talk about that. They talk about, there was a guy who talked about he saw parts of the universe, and he said that the photos we get back from NASA is not the actual colors you see out there. And there was an astrologer who said he was right. He said because when they take those photos and bring those in and stuff, he says we can't contrast those colors. They couldn't actually show you guys what's out there in the universe. So a lot of these beautiful universal pictures we see out here are probably more or less not what the actual color and stuff of it is. And it amazes me, and this is just me, that they can actually take those photos and send all that out there, the James Webb Telescope and stuff, but we can't circle around the Earth and show the Earth. We can't go to the moon. We can't go to Jupiter. We're going way out, and we're trying to figure out how the universe was created and all that. And they know that there's billions of galaxies out there, but yet we can't even focus on our own solar system. So that always amazes me, and that throws things off. But I think that's just what the media does and what the public does. So, but anyway, going back to these. So Ray says, not scared, but most humans are afraid. I guess talking about the disclosure thing, probably are. I mean, the grays are known to have a bad odor to them. Was it, I know, bro, was it the grays or the reptilians? I thought the reptilians were the ones that had like a stench to them. Um, but I could be wrong. I thought it was the reptilians that had the bad stench. And I'm like I said, I could get this kind of mixed up, and the grays didn't. The reptilians, I heard some of them say they smell like burnt sulfur, and we know where that burnt sulfur smell comes from. It was covered up, and then one of the documentaries about it called it a moment of contact. Okay. Is that the one where I think the kids were throwing rocks at it and had like bumps on his head or something like that, and it had red eyes stuff? So it's pretty interesting, some of the stuff that's out there. Um, I just wish they had more photos or there was more eyewitness testimonies, or get a hold of these people today, let them talk about it. So, oh yeah, there's some stuff on the moon too. I mean, I remember when I heard about the guy talking about who recently died last year about seeing structures on the moon, and all of a sudden they waited a long time, but he died. He was bicycling one morning, he got killed. It's like, whoa, what the? He was like in his 70s, I think, or so. Okay, Christopher's giving some people to go out there and follow. So the moon thing is always interesting. I have not touched on the moon because I think there's issues with YouTube when you start doing that. So I just haven't touched on it. I just left it alone. I mean, I've heard interesting stuff out there with the moon. So I just left it alone. I mean, we all know there's something going on. I'm surprised. There's a guy who's got a channel you guys may know. He actually films stuff on the moon. He's shown stuff flying in front of the moon, flying around the moon and stuff. So I mean, I could go live and If you guys recommend a good telescope, I'll go out and buy one, and we'll sit out one night, and I can see the moon and the stars out here, and I'll get out there one night, and we'll just look to see what we see. I'm just surprised more people haven't done that. That's the thing about it. With all this technology and stuff, maybe they're just caught up in social media, and that's what it is. But I'm just surprised more people haven't done that. Sat out there and just looked at the moon and recorded it. Do I believe the moon's an artificial structure? I don't. I do believe they mining on the moon. I think someone said that element 115 could actually be, there might be an element that they found on the moon too. I can't remember. Somebody was talking about that. I don't think it was Bob Lazar who was talking about that. It was somebody else was talking about that with element 115 and the moon, and how they were setting up bases on the moon because it's easier just to launch something from the moon than go from Earth and go through all that. So, all right, a couple more comments are coming in, seeing what you guys are saying. Well, Jab says he's got plenty of pictures and videos. Well, send them over to me. LittleKingdomBuilder@gmail.com. I actually got a bigger mailbox. I think it's a terabyte now, so I can actually get you guys' videos and stuff. That's the one video I put out there. It was about a minute long. Some people said it was fake, where a guy was out, he saw a UFO, he filmed it, and then it flew overhead, then it flew off. And some people said it was fake. But that video was put out there before, several years ago, and it was taken down. The people that actually filmed it didn't want it out there because it would identify who they were, and I was able to actually put in some snippets of it. So I don't know if that's a true story or not. I'm not familiar with that story. You have to kind of enlighten me on it. It may have been something I heard about, but can't associate the name with it. So the Japanese landed a probe on the moon yesterday and then lost contact. Oh, I didn't know that. I know China landed one on the backside of the moon. Remember that a couple months ago, and then they found something. Um, okay, I'll do that. I can't do it during this live, but it's one word. It's Little Kingdom Builder, LittleKingdom, Builder, BUILDER at gmail.com. It's in if you go to the About section of my channel, you'll see where that's at because the contact information is there for me. A little lighter. Okay, I must have missed something there. So, but see, you guys, I'm trying to catch to what you guys are commenting here. Yeah, what's going on? Yeah, I'm a brother. I'm black. If you know me from my other channel, a lot of you guys come over from the RC channel to come over here. I put that out there. It shouldn't matter too much, but for some people it does. It is what it is. The world's interesting as it is. Um, so what else are you guys chatting about? We use human hair for breeds. Okay. I mean, it's been pretty interesting stuff. I mean, I think when Stephen Greer's video comes out, he's going to talk about Tesla. Because if you guys don't know it, I think it was 1898. He actually created a radio controlled boat. He had a boat out there, and he was actually controlling the radio waves, making the boat kind of go around. And people at that time, they had no idea what it was, and they were just kind of looking at it. And some people said it was magic and all that. Of course, if people don't know what something is, it's always going to be magic. So I thought that was interesting. But Stephen Greer said he's going to put that in his movie too, which will be interesting. So. Okay, Ray, I'm not sure what you're talking about with the human hair. Maybe I'm catching something a little late with that, but he says he has a mind. I have a mind toy control. Okay. Don't use it on me. And put my tinfoil hat on. I'll be like Hecklefish. We're walking around with tinfoil hat on. So let's see, bro. I'm trying to see this right here. I don't know if that's a word or not, that Mahabar, right, describes nuclear weapons and different types of UFOs, even the fuel. and some of it mercury. You should look into it. Okay, I'll have to go back to these after I get off here and just jot down a couple of notes. I had a few I put out there. I mean, I owe you guys a lot of videos. I ain't even gonna lie. I just ain't been putting that much time 'cause I've been doing other things. With it, do you think Stephen Greer is light? I'm not sure what you mean by light with that. Um, but as far as the photos and stuff goes, Boyd Bushman, that photo of that, he had no reason to lie. And I've read on the internet where I think 50% of the people believe it's real and the other 50 don't. But some people were saying they did that to discredit him by creating that rubber doll and they just replicated. But there was small differences in his actual photo and the actual rubber doll that actually proved that what he showed in those photos were actually alien beings. Because he did talk about a lot of stuff. If you guys have not, look up Boyd Bushman if the interviews are still out there. There was a guy who interviewed him and he talked about different things. I mean, he had all kinds of stuff he talked about. He even had some photos of something and he talked about he had a weird object that was on like a Navy docking bay or something. And he told the guy this flew, and the guy said that flew. He said, well, this is the reactor that we put inside something to make it fly. So those videos are probably gone and taken down because the people that ran those channels probably weren't keeping up with them. And YouTube just kind of maybe got rid of them. So I think someone asked if Bob Lazar and Stephen Greer ever speak. I think they might have spoken a conference before, 'cause I think I remember Stephen Greer mentioning Bob Lazar doesn't talk about too many people he's talked to before. I think he's older now, and I think he's pretty much like, whatever. But he does mention, I believe Bob Lazar 100%. I believe him since I first heard him. I believe him till this day. I believe him till he's long gone. I think one of the reasons why people say, well, if he saw what he saw, how can he disclose it and still be alive? I think that he has element 115, and that's kind of his trump card there. Um, because I think it was what 500 pounds or something like that, but he got some of that. And he's even mentioned in particular interviews if he's got names and things he could talk about that would actually expose what he is, but he's protecting those families too. And those people, which I commend him for. He's not just saying, look what I saw and putting this all out there. And he's got element 115, just like Stephen Greer says, if something happens to him, he's got several people that could send out to several million people each, and those people are going to send out somebody else. So they've kind of got somewhat of a protection or backup plan with that. And I think that's one of the reasons why Bob is still among us is because he has element 115. Where it's at, we don't know. He talked about it in the documentary he did with Jeremy Corbell. They actually were in the woods and they mentioned something about it and where it was at, but it really wasn't there. And the next day, the CIA, the FBI was all in his business, searching his place and stuff for the element 115. So I think that's something that has kept him alive to this point, and that's just my speculation on that. So the area of school sightings, I don't know if that's the one with the kids or not. So yeah, we all love the Wi-Fi's. It's pretty interesting. So all right, Dean, 3 a.m. Yeah, that's late for you, bro. That sounds like my normal bedtime about 3 o'clock. So Ray asks, does anyone know why these UAPs are so small? I'm not sure which UAP you're talking about. If you're talking about some of the recent ones, like I said, somebody told me they were transporting stuff from A to B on the Earth. How true that is, I don't know, but that's like their FedEx. They just put something in there and then they send it off, put the coordinates in, it flies over there and it avoids aircraft and bam, it's there. I mean, we got to realize that a lot of these airplanes and stuff that fly, they actually have flight paths that they fly. So if the UAPs or whatever's flying around like that, if they know the flight paths, of course they're going to avoid the airplane. They're going to avoid the aircraft. So I do not have faith in the Pentagon handling these UAP investigations. Well, let me put it this way. I have faith in them investigating the UAP investigations, but I don't have faith in them investigating the UFO cases. And there's a difference between the two. So that's just my 2 cents. I think that since they've defined this new UAP term and all that, um, I think is different. But if it was the UFO cases, they have plenty of eyewitnesses footage that people can come forth and say, well, what is this? What is this? What is this? What is this? And I think people are defining it wrong. If we keep saying UFO and UAP, they may have identified some of this stuff. So, but I don't have faith in them in doing the UFO stuff. UAPs, they can say kind of whatever they want with that. They can say, oh, we don't know this like they did last time. They'll read from a script exactly, and they'll leave it at that. So Ray said, what about the Men in Black? Bob never seen them. No, Bob's never seen any of the Men in Black and stuff. I did read the book by the guy Bender, where he was the first person to term Men in Black. Matter of fact, it's actually right over here. Let me get this real quick. I think I'm about halfway through it. So hopefully you guys can see this. I've been reading this book. It's now reversed. Flying Saucers and the Three Men. So this book, I got this from Amazon, and it's been pretty interesting what's been going on here. And I've been reading this because I want to do kind of a book review on it. I'm about halfway through. It's about less than 200 pages. Yes, 153 pages. I'm on page 71. But it's interesting how, let me fold this so I don't lose this. It's interesting how this came about with this guy and everything in here and what he talks about. And I haven't, like I said, I want to read the whole entire book. And maybe I'll do a giveaway. Maybe I'll give the book away to some of the people that are channel members and stuff. But this has been interesting. I got this from Amazon. I think they actually marked the cost of it or something like that up, but it's fine. It's actually a pretty good read. And he mentions why it was the actual Men in Black and what he talked about. Now, these Men in Black that he talks about in here are not the same Men in Black like we think about people coming and knocking on your door and stuff. These Men in Black actually transcended through or actually came through in his house, in his room at night and stuff. And he said they had a burnt sulfur smell, red eyes, they were dark, had dark clothing on and stuff. So it didn't look anything like what some of the people were talking about. These men walking around, coming to their doors, pale white skin, dark clothes on, black hat and all that. His seemed like they were more, I want to say, spiritual. And they basically told him to stop. And then, of course, it hadn't gotten to the part where they told him not to talk about this for a certain amount of time because they were down there with an agenda and he was messing their agenda. He published a newspaper or a newsletter called, I think it was a Space Review. And in there, he was talking about a lot of UFOs. People were writing in and he was having all kinds of different articles. And that lasted for about a little bit over a year. But he talks about a lot of that, some of that in this book and stuff. And he talks about communication with them and all that. Sometimes some of it's a little bit, I guess, Hollywood. So maybe someone got it and maybe edited or something like that. I love to have the original print or some of his original notes. But this has been a pretty interesting read thus far as Men in Black goes. There it is. You guys see advertising. So anyway, back to comments. So Men in Black, why there's always three, I don't know. Some people say they see two. So thoughts on Nikola Tesla, FBI Volt, document 3-page state, and his team. I mean, I think Tesla was a genius. I really do. Tesla's had a lot of stuff out there. I mean, just a lot of stuff that he put out there. And a lot of his ideas were stolen, which is fine. I mean, there was controversy with the patent of the radio and all that stuff, but I do believe Tesla was a true genius. He just didn't know how to run business. That's all there was to it. He was trying to give back to the people when he should have did the patent pendings on his particular inventions, made the money, set himself up, and then give back. But that was his personality. So that's just who he was. So I think Tesla should have went about a different route, but he was also kind of a germophobic as well. So I think at a certain point in time later on in his life, he stopped, he never had children. And I mean, when he died, he was in a New York apartment feeding pigeons and stuff like that. So there's interesting stuff with that with Tesla. So I would appreciate you joining the live. We're on here just discussing and just talking about everything. We go live. We just go live. Pretty soon I'm going to go live and there's going to be a screen on this side here and I'll be bringing up particular documents. But I just got to get the software down for it. So Yeah, maybe he may do it. He talked. So I know, bro says he wonders why Stephen Greer has never mentioned Bob Lazar in his interviews in Element 115. With that, I think in his new documentary that's going to come out, don't quote me on this, but the one that's going to come out in June or July, he's actually going to mention some of that. Um, and maybe he's letting Bob Lazar do his thing, maybe because he's on his own path, Stephen Greer is. But him and Bob Lazar and some of these other people should actually sit down. But it's been so long for Lazar, it's he can remember some of the basic stuff, but I still have not found, I think they call it the Alien Bible or the Alien Yellow Page, something where someone said that Bob Lazar mentioned a book he saw. And as he opened the book up, when he laid the page down for the book, it actually played a video, and it was actually like a historic video or something. I still have yet to find him talking about that. I did find the video, and I put that on my channel with Bob Lazar talking about how they turned at what he called the reactor on from one of the craft, and they pointed at a candle, and the candle was flickering, and once it hit it, the candle stopped flickering, but it was still actually burning, or the flame stopped flickering, but the candle started was actually still melting and stuff. So somehow he said it was able to freeze time, but it was still going and stuff. But it was pretty interesting. So if you guys search my channel for Bob Lazar videos, you'll actually see that. And that amazed me right there. I mean, he said everything he saw up in there was borderline magic. I mean, and he wasn't even there a full year. He was there for about what, 9 months, 9 to 11 months. So, okay, I'll look up that school incident after this video. It's extremely hard for someone to attempt to debunk the area event. Can't wait for the documentary. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. I mean, it's coming out, and he's actually still taking funds and stuff. He's still, I think it was a $500,000 budget, and they were like at 490 or something like that. So if I can find it, I'll probably try to go over there and donate some money. So Pandalonian Project, I'm not sure what that is. I have to look that up. Someone said, I wonder why Bob thinks of Greer's blueprints of the sport model he came out with. I think you may be talking about the ARV that the guy sketched out and stuff. And that ARV that he sketched out was given to him. Him and somebody sat down and talked about it for several months to about a year or two. And I don't know if Bob Lazar has seen that, because that is different. That ARV is different than the sport model. I started working on a video comparing the sport model to an ARV, and it got deleted. My phone froze up for some reason. I was editing stuff on my phone, had videos and stuff, and I was talking about the differences between the two. Um, and I don't know if you guys want to hear about what my research. I'll do a video at some point in time. I'll probably have to do a video on the ARV first, and then the sport model, and then combine the two videos together, and then talk about other patent inventions for flying saucers or circular shaped craft and stuff like that, electric driven craft and stuff. Because it was pretty interesting what I was finding. I was upset because I had put a lot of work into that, and everything just kind of froze up, and then my phone just shut off. And I was like, what the? And the first thing you go, oh, conspiracy, but I think it was, I don't know what was going on, but I was upset, and I haven't touched back on that. But I found some information, and I was comparing the ARV from what we know of, to the sport model and what Bob Lazar had saw. And it was a pretty interesting comparison. There were very slight similarities between the two, but the sport model was, of course, way ahead of the ARV. And when they did the ARV, we don't know actually what they replicated that from. So, why don't more outspoken people speak with each other? It's probably because no one's actually come together and try to get them together. I think the only person that's actually doing that now is Stephen Greer. I think he's the one that's trying to pull these people together. Um, Everybody else, I don't know. But I think there's not a central point for them to actually meet and talk. Stephen Greer did his disclosure project in what, the early 2000s or something, or 2000, what, 8, 9, 10, something like that. And that's been some of the main things. I don't think people are, and they should, putting forth the money to get them together. I mean, if I could come up with a plan or agenda and do it, I would do it. I would just sit down and start getting people together for it. But I would need a team to help me. I couldn't do it by myself. I mean, I would need someone to help me out. So, I think that project you're talking about, that's the one where they went to another planet. Is that correct, JP? All right. Have fun with the Jeopardy. Have you seen the Men in Black video caught on camera in that hotel? Yeah, I saw that. That was kind of suspect in a little bit, but it could be true. I mean, like I said, it could be definitely true. So, Ray, I don't know if that movie AI is the one where they have the two Men in Black scene. I think that was the best part of the movie. That's the guy. Was that the guy that came in that did the calculations? He was a mathematical genius and he helped them to calculate something. And if that's the movie, that's actually a pretty interesting movie. But the Men in Black scene was probably the best part of that whole movie. So, oh, let me quit my yapping merch. But what's going to be the icon on it? We're going to have something like this as "Let me quit my yapping" or something else. You guys know I have these T-shirts out there and sweatshirts, and there's always a link in the description of the other videos. I just try not to promote that out there because I don't want you guys thinking buy my t-shirts, buy my merch. People said I should. People said I should say all that, donate to the channel, because they say what it'll do is, and I don't doubt them on this. It'll help motivate me to put more into this channel and put more out there because this channel is not even a year old yet. It won't be a year old for another 4 or 5 months, and I think it's done pretty good at about over 5,000 subscribers. It's finally monetized and stuff. It's just sometimes when I put it out there, since I haven't been focusing that much on it, the views have kind of been down. I'm not blaming anybody. It's just me for not putting in extra work for it. So I will make the quit my yapping t-shirts. We'll try to get that up next week. I'll have that in one of my premiere videos. So Josh said, is UFOs likely man-made or ET? It depends on what you saw. It's going to be a mixture of both. And ET extraterrestrial could also be interdimensional. There's been several reports on it, and maybe that's a video we need to do. Is maybe that's a video title I need to do. UFOs likely man-made or extraterrestrial or something else. Maybe I'll think about that for a video title because I've heard several lectures. People say the real UFOs that are really like something that we haven't done are distorted. Their shapes all weird and stuff. And it's because their properties are far beyond our physical realm properties here, and that's why they look weird and distorted, and their colors are too. Then you have some stuff that's man-made. They've been called ARVs or they've been called RAMs, replicate alien machines. So it's been several different names for it. But I do believe the majority of the stuff that we see is ours. Why, if there's something visiting this planet, why they just haven't, why they don't come down here? Why haven't we seen, a large craft come in or something like that? That's the only thing that makes the whole UFO thing suspect to a lot of people is if someone did travel hundreds of millions of miles, why is it being hidden in the dark? And I have a lot of friends that are skeptical like that. So. So BG says, what are the thoughts on the Lockheed Martin possibly holding craft and not being exposed yet? Something mentioned by, I think, Bob Lazar. Well, it's a couple of companies out there. Lockheed Martin, Northrop, all them people. They have the technology. I mean, it boils down to power and control. Who has the power has the control. So if something does break out, there's some stuff in our economy that's kind of crazy financial wise, but that's just a money thing. But if something does break out, they can just break out these craft. It amazed me about the some of the new fifth gen fighter jets and stuff when I saw a documentary and they were talking about the craft and the helmet on them. They said that they can't get their traditional pilots to fly those. They have to train new pilots to fly these fifth gen fighter jets because they're actually somewhat transparent where you can kind of see through the craft and the helmets. And maybe you guys want a video on that. I don't know what you guys kind of want if you guys want to see stuff like that, but the helmet helps you to see around the craft and stuff as well. It's pretty amazing how that actually got broken down and how they talked about that. And I don't think everybody really knows about that. So maybe I should do a video on that and say, hey, because that does seem like some reverse alien technology because Balazar talked about when he got in a sport model, he touched one side of it and it kind of came transparent, like you could see through it. Now that would freak me out if I was up in space and you touched it and it just became transparent and you can see through it. But that's some of the technology that's used in some of these fifth gen craft. And he talked about the helmets and stuff like that. Like those helmets do a lot of things. So maybe I'll touch basis on that and then see you guys' reaction to that and how those fifth gen fighters are created and how they had to get special pilots for them. I know that's kind of raving on BG, but that's kind of my thoughts on that. So yeah, I think I watch Bob Lazar probably about once a week. I always catch on something new. So yeah, people losing time. It's always interesting because if you have these craft that actually manipulate time, I wonder if someone could get in one today and fly somewhere. It distorts time and gravity. And what could be several minutes to us could be several weeks or several months or several years. I wonder how those calculations and stuff were. Maybe you guys know that. So just reading through a couple of you guys' comments. I'm not going anywhere just yet. I believe the next 10 years, surveillance tech will be so advanced we should be able to catch them fast moving objects. Yeah, I think we can catch them now. You guys know I do RC car stuff. I plan on getting some planes and I have drones and stuff. And actually, in one of my RC car videos, someone said they saw a UFO. It looked like it at first, but it was actually a drone. A guy was flying his drone and kind of swooped by real quick because I went back and looked at it. So, got somebody in from Lancaster. What's going on? Appreciate you joining in. Do you have interest in the secret space program? I always have interest in all that. Space Force. When Trump announced that, I was like, what the Space Force? Why do we have a Space Force? And they're actually recruiting for Space Force, which is interesting. So, yeah, I'll do a video on that. I'll go ahead and break down and probably be. I'll try to make my videos longer. I know the algorithm looks for that. Sometimes I'm so pressed for time. That's why I'm kind of going live just to keep at least something going on a weekly basis. But Retro 917, I'm reading yours about Anderson, and he did a VHS Cam 1991 interview about one of the first to arrive at Roswell crash site. Then as a civilian youngster before the military. Oh, I think I may have to look at that. I mean, you guys are bringing up, this is what I need to see as feedback on what you guys want. Because one, it's going to help us to research and study and get this information out. And then two, some people actually seen some of this stuff and they can comment on it. So I'll have to start making just a list of videos and just trying to just knock them out. So yeah, if I had information on UFPs, I would definitely, as a congressman, reveal it. But I think that there's also protocols and procedures towards doing that. So someone asked if we found out we were created by ETs, what would happen to your faith? My faith wouldn't vary. That's because I know. I mean, you guys, if you've seen some other live videos before, I've talked about, my faith and where that lies. And I do have in my notes somewhere, I started doing some research because people want to hear about aliens in the Bible and stuff and all that. And I want to make sure I clarify that for you guys and back it up with scripture for it. Of course, Christianity is based completely on faith. It takes a lot to believe what the Bible says, and I do believe it. But people are talking about what Ezekiel saw was a UFO, which it wasn't. People talking about the Israelites being led by day and night was UFO, which it actually wasn't. And some of the things that actually transpired in the Bible, which it wasn't. But people have to realize that if the Bible was actually made into a movie, it would probably be rated X or triple X or something, because there's a lot of stuff that goes on, especially in the Old Testament. And the Old Testament talks about a lot of things. I mean, look up the Leviathan for one thing. The Leviathan is probably the fiercest creature God has ever made. And if you think about it, it looks kind of like the mixture between a Chinese dragon and Godzilla. And if you look up Leviathan, it talks about it very periodically. And it talks about other creatures too. And of course, the Bible was written before the word dinosaur, term dinosaurs came out. But I talked about this before. But there's several things in there. I mean, if you read Genesis chapter 6, Um, it's very interesting with that. It talks about a race called the Nephilian, how they survived the flood, and we do have an alien race called the Nephilian. If they've been around for all these tens of thousands of years, of course their technology would be far more advanced than what we have. And it was actually a hybrid race. So maybe you guys want to hear stuff about that. But the problem with that is that there's no evidence except for what we see around us, that God exists. And that's the one problem with that. I mean, I can go into in depth about what Ezekiel wrote down and saw and go to some of the original translations in Hebrew and stuff. But a lot of people want hard evidence. And that's the one thing that I wouldn't have. One thing I can do is read to you what the scripture says and then read to you what people have seen a particular craft and then show you that what Ezekiel saw was not a UFO. Not saying that they didn't see things back in their days, but what he saw and what he wrote down was not that. I haven't watched Weaponized. I haven't watched. I think I've watched the very first episode. I think he's on episode 5 or 6 or something like that. I haven't watched some of the late ones. So, it says the planet might be a cosmetic zoo. It might be. I mean, yeah, the F-22. Thank you. My brain was going blank. I was thinking F-18 of F-22 rather. Yeah. Thank you on that. I appreciate that, Ray. My mind was going blank. I was thinking about something else. If you guys look up the F-22, look up the technology behind that, look up on the technology of the helmet and stuff, you guys will see it. You guys will be like, what the? Well, that's what I said when I saw it. I was like, wow. Uh, but you got to think about this planet and how many different creatures and animals we have on this planet. I mean, they're still finding new animals and insects in the Amazon. I mean, we haven't even, it hasn't been exposed to us what's in the ocean. So I think that there's a lot out there still to see here on Earth. How would the public handle actual disclosure considering religion? Well, it depends on the person's faith. I mean, a UFO for me could land right here, right now, or come in here right now, and I would tell them about Jesus Christ. I'd be like, oh wow, okay, so He created y'all too. So what's the deal with this? What's the deal with this secrecy stuff? That's what I would do. I wouldn't be. I would. It would not make me not believe. I mean, if you want to really read some stuff, read the Book of Revelation, and if you can find a version or a translation of the Bible that's easier for you to understand. Because when I first read it, I was reading the King James, and the King James was like, "What the? He begotteth thou?" I just can't. But when I got the NIV, I was able to understand it. But if you read the Book of Revelation, you'll read about a lot of stuff. There's a lot of symbolism going on. But if you read a lot of the books of the Bible, you read Daniel, you'll see some of the stuff that Daniel experienced. You'll see a lot of what we consider supernatural stuff happening with it. You even read about giants. I mean, it wasn't just Goliath. Goliath wasn't the only giant of the Bible. He's just one of the most popular ones because we've made it somewhat popular by putting it out there. But it's a lot more to the whole David and Goliath story. Goliath had four other cousins, and maybe that's why David he grabbed those 5 stones. And all his other relatives and stuff were killed by David and his mighty men. If you read about David and his mighty men, they talk about some of their feats and stuff. You read about one of his warriors going against an Egyptian that was 7.5 feet tall. So, if people, like I said, if it was actually made in, um, I'm going to say this, if the people that are Christians that are making these movies didn't try to water it down and Hollywood make it so much, I think people would be more interested and find out some of the stuff that's really going on. But so I know that was long-winded, but that hopefully answers your question about if something came down, how would it affect my faith? It wouldn't affect mine at all. I mean, I'd be like, that's cool. I'm more fascinated just with the technological aspect of it more than anything else. I wouldn't care if I saw alien being walking around. I'd be more interested in the technology behind it. So the Brazilian Roswell, it's kind of faded in my mind a little bit, so I don't want to talk too much about it. I remember reading and hearing about that years and years ago, but I don't want to say too much about it because I can't remember all the events that happened there and then. So my apologies on that. So Brian D says, even if we were created by ET, Scripture says man was created in God's image. It does not, however, tell us the tools or the processes used in that creation. Yeah, it's in the first chapter of Genesis. I mean, he basically made us from dirt. People, it's a lot of symbolism in that too. But I mean, if you sit around and walk around in some white clothes for 2 or 3 days and don't wash up, your clothes will be dirty. So I mean, it's you gotta think about if you think about it on that aspect, you're talking about the God of the universe, and if you believe in that, He created everything out of nothing, and He did it through His Son, Jesus Christ. So if you think on those terms, you do not limit God. The only thing He won't do is He won't sin or lie. So it's a lot. It's a lot of stuff with it. I'm actually starting a Christianity channel talking about things like that. And we're gonna get really in depth with that. That's gonna be separate from this. So I won't mix any of these two, and then of course the RC stuff. And there's gonna be completely separate. And I'll go more in depth with the stuff of the Bible, some stuff that's transpired with me, and a lot of testimonies because I think if you guys hear some of these testimonies of near death experiences, people actually dying, seeing heaven and hell, it'll be interesting too because some of the stuff I think these people are seeing could be some of the stuff they see flying around. I mean, I saw the Y-Files, they did something on the Mothman last week, I think it was, right? And what's very, very interesting about this, and I don't know if I'm just getting off the subject because I don't want to too much, but what's very interesting about the description of that Mothman is similar to what Mary Kay Baxter saw in her book 40 Days in Hell, and a friend of mine saw. He said he was down at a club called Magic City, and basically it's a creature that it's a demon that's basically has the body of body of a bear, but it's huge. It's like 8 feet tall, and it has the wings of a bat and the face of a bat. And he saw this thing kind of manifest. Maybe that's the Mothman. I don't know, but I remember I read that and I mentioned that to him, and he said he saw it. He had two big. I think he said he had pit bulls, and they were going crazy in the back of an alley. And he was telling the dog just shut up. Was going trying to tug on him, and this thing just manifested. I think I've talked about that in a live video before, but maybe that's the Mothman. I don't know, but yeah, Ryan. I think it may affect some people with their faith because not everybody's strong with faith. I mean, it's fine, to each their own. But it wouldn't affect me. But there would be some people. There's going to be some nuts out there. There's it's going to be it's going to be chaotic. I'm not going to say it's not because some people are going to be very chaotic about it. So Curious Dog says, "What happened to my business?" I'm not sure what you're talking about with that right there. I don't believe the biological ETs actually in the ships have personalities. Think they were worker bees. They could be. Um, I mean, I've heard of certain things. I've heard of particular aliens being inside particular people and they're controlling them and mechanisms and all that. But that would be something we would have to actually see or someone. No one's ever said that they saw one of these gray aliens or one of the big head aliens and it split the head open. There was a little creature and they're controlling it, or any mechanical thing. So no one's really come out and talked about that much. So, oh yeah, disclosure happens. They probably wouldn't let you buy guns. It'd probably be to a point where they try to ban it. So I got mine, and I got plenty of ammo. So yeah, we all love the Wi-Fi's. I'm glad he was able to progress forward and do what he was doing. I like that he's doing what he did. So yeah, disclosure would be very interesting. I think I got to all the end of the comments, which is good, so I don't have to hold this up close. Disclosure would be pretty interesting for it. Me personally, I would love to see some other stuff. I grew up in the time where um, there was a lot more videos. There was a lot more information, and it was harder to fake stuff. You guys know in the 90s and stuff like that, it was harder to fake those videos. In the documentaries, they actually did a lot more research for it. And they had eyewitness testimonies, drawings, and all that. Today, and like I said, I know some people see stuff, some people don't. Today, a lot of people just want popularity. Some people want to make money, which people do that on everything. It's not just UFO stuff, but people do it for everything. But back then, you actually had videos and stuff, and people were like, "What is that?" Nowadays, like I showed you guys some software where you can actually create UFOs and stuff. You can just take your phone, you can sit up here and you can film something outside and you can react to it like you're actually seeing something. And then you can go back and edit it and put a UFO in there. Now, it would take someone with video experience to disclose what's going on there, but I think that that does water down some of the stuff that people have seen because I did have a guy who got really upset before, and I have people that get upset with the name UFO conspiracies um, because of the name conspiracies and stuff. But it's just something that came to mind. The truth is out there, and I should just say the truth will be revealed. But so Ryan just said, "What's your take on government officials acknowledging that the aliens are real on the Joe Rogan podcast?" I may have missed that one. But if you're saying what's my take on aliens that they're real, I do believe that there's something out there. Whether they're interdimensional um, beings, whether they're spiritual beings, or whether they're alien beings. If the universe is as big as they say it is, and I still have yet to go out somewhere late at night where there's no lights from the street and just see the stars out there. The universe as big as it is and God created all he did, I do believe there's something else going on out there that we don't know about. I do have personally problems. I did watch the movie Above Majestic. If you guys haven't checked that out, check that out. It's on YouTube. You can buy it for $5. It's actually pretty good. I personally do have problems with believing people that said they were abducted, taken off planet. They've been over to different parts of the galaxy and they saw humans out there interacting in a different society, and they were shown that they were worker bees. I just personally have a problem with some of that. And that's just me. That's just stuff I have to listen to more testimonies on because some people talk about being taken off planet. There's a guy, I can't remember his name right now, but he talked about how when he was younger, he saw a kid. The kid actually could read people's minds, but the kid looked weird and he made fun of the kid. And the kid read his mind. And from that point, he was kind of abducted late at night for years and years. And I think at some point in time, he was a soldier and all that stuff. And I thought it was interesting how he talked about cryptocurrency. He said they did use a structure that was like blockchain for currency when he was out there and all that. So I thought that was interesting. But he did kind of break that down with that. Some of his stuff I thought was interesting. Some of it I have a hard time believing. I mean, he said he was taken at night and brought back during the day, taken for several hours every night. So that stuff I have a hard time believing. Just people being taken off planet and being brought back. Take you off planet, you go stay off planet. Why take you, bring you back, go back and forth? That's just a lot of time. But that's just my opinion. So yeah, well, Eddie Bravo was right. Everybody should be a conspiracy theorist. Staten Freeman, yeah, he died. So what are you saying with him? Um, okay. Yeah, we can never get a good long video. I think, and like I said, some of the video footage from the 80s and the 90s was longer. Um, and today we just kind of see snippets of it. Why these people are not filming everything, I don't know. And people get on me like I filmed it. Why didn't you film everything, bro? This is the video clip I got. Y'all getting mad at me like I filmed. I'm not saying you guys are, but people were like, why didn't you film the whole thing? This is all the video evidence I have. This is what they sent. So Jasper's organic matter is what they're all interested in. Okay. Framing us if the aliens wanted to take over, they would have done a long time ago. Yeah. Either they're done a long time ago, or maybe there's a bigger agenda than what we know of. I don't know. So, not for food, but for their own reason. Yeah, could be. I mean, I heard back in I think it was the late 90s, when I was in the military. It was a TV show, and they were talking about how a particular race was dying, and that's why they were abducting and taking human DNA, and they were making crossbreed babies and stuff between their race and our race, and they were bringing the aliens out or the hybrid children out and showing it to the actual woman, or the women who they were taking this stuff from and all. So it was pretty interesting with it. I've heard abduction stories of a woman being pregnant and her baby was taken. And then another, and kind of in this story too, she was shown the baby later on. It was kind of a hybrid baby. And she was kind of in a delusional state because I guess when she was taken aboard the craft, she was sedated or something like that. But she said she knew it was her child, but it was kind of a hybrid child. So how that goes about, I don't know. They said that this particular race that was doing that, their race was dying off. And I'm like, well, if you got that technology to travel, you think you'd have the technology to fix your body so you could reproduce. But who knows what's going on with that part right there. Yeah, they probably got technology that can't be detected on. I mean, I'm not putting any of that past them and what they do. So, Roy, is that the project where the people were taken to another planet and they lived over there for a certain period of time, and then some of them came back and some of them stayed? That particular project you're talking about? Yeah, Ryan, I do believe some of them are from Earth. I do believe some of them have been here for a long time. I truly believe the reptilians that people talk about are from Earth. I mean, they're underground and all that. I do believe that. Um, Not saying they all are, but if a race has been around for a long time, I mean, we're only what the Industrial Revolution happened, what, in the 1800s? We're only barely even, not even 200 years in our technological advances. Look where we are now. I mean, we're still using fossil fuels to control things like we are. We're because it's all money based society. It's all financially based. So, yeah, Nathan, that's true. When you have your experience, you kind of don't care if you know. Sometimes some people do go crazy because they want other people to believe what they saw. Um, I stopped with that. I mean, I stopped trying to. I don't try to convince people of stuff unless I've actually seen it and have it recorded right there. You guys know my videos. I say, hey, this is out here and this is what this is. Leave your comments below. I'm not going to tell you it's the truth of things. So, but I don't know which video you guys want first and next. I'm gonna actually spend a lot more time doing the videos because we've been over a little bit over the hour, so I didn't plan on staying on this long. But you guys want the ARV video first, or the sport model vehicle, or the comparison with those two, or you guys want some of the other stuff talking about some of the other UFO landings in different places? So, or do you guys want the F-22 video? I think you guys want that first. That was actually pretty cool, and I learned about that. I don't have the information behind it, but it was pretty cool to see how that helmet actually works, and that it said somewhere. I remember reading somewhere how the craft was kind of transparent, and because of that, the pilot could like see below and see behind him, and the mask helps him, or the helmet helps him to see visually around him and stuff like that as well. So it's pretty interesting. So Stars and Nights, I haven't, but I heard about Project Looking Glass before. I know Bob Lazar talked about that. And that's all I know is from what Bob Lazar talked about with Looking Glass, with that, talking about distortions in time, not so much of going back in time, but seeing, it seems like they're kind of playing with space and time and trying to distort things or trying to see things with that. So, yeah, that's what I try to do. Just put it out there. There's no use of me trying to convince you guys unless I have physical proof to say, hey, here's Bob the alien right here. You guys see him? Say hi or something like that. So Ryan says, if time travel were ever possible, we'd have already known about it. Well, what if that's what the UFOs are? Yeah, I believe in time travel forward, but I don't believe in travel backwards, if that makes sense. I think that you can, yeah, like if we had a craft that distorted time, I believe we can get in the craft, and what may seem 5 minutes to us is going to seem an hour for somebody else. And I mean, it's actually in our physical realm too. If you think about it, the way our planet rotates, when astronauts go to outer space and they come back, they have to be isolated for a minute because time is different. Time is actually slower in space and stuff, and time is just off. And I remember reading about that a while back. Maybe I'll put that in the F-22 video talking about space and time because I was always curious why the astronauts come back. I know they're up there for several months or something like that, but time is actually slower up there, which is pretty interesting. So there was a big thing talking about that and the different planets and the rotation. And you guys know that some planets, what may seem to be a year for us may be 3 months for them. So we know that there is a place. We know there is a distortion in time with that. So yeah, Cypher Ray says you can always show someone a picture of Jesus and the people won't believe you if you aren't looking for the truth. I actually saw him too. That's the funny part about all this. I actually saw him. I didn't know it was him. I thought it was an angel. But I actually saw him years and years ago. I think I told you guys that story before, but I actually saw him. I don't know if you guys want to hear about it. If you do, just put in the comments and I'll talk about that before I sign out of here. I do have some old footage. I have to get this out here. Um, I just have to find some of it and put it out there. I think some of the videos I'll start doing, and I'll start putting some more shorts out, will show some cliplets of stuff. So. The skipping UFO, I believe that might have been in the Nevada desert. I believe that was. And there hasn't been too much. The video I showed, that's probably the longest one where it hit and it skipped a couple of times and then it actually exploded. So that's always very interesting with that. Yep, I think you're right too on that one. So it was shown in the movie Interstellar with Matt. Yep. Yeah, it fascinates me that something could actually bend gravity the way Bob Lazar talks about it, distort it, and actually bring it to you. It's ingenious in his thought. I never would have thought about that, but he talked about how simple the craft works and stuff. So people say, okay, they want to hear it. So basically, I know how people die in their sleep. When I first started reading the Bible, for some crazy, stupid reason, I jumped to the book of Revelation. Dumb. Don't ever do that. Don't ever do that. But luckily, I had already knew particular parts of the Bible. So I don't know if I've ever talked to you guys about this. So after I got out the military, I was studying UFOs in the Bible, and I was just into that big time. And I actually got closer to God then because I told him, I'd get closer to you. But I would study and pray and meditate so much. Sometimes I'd be downstairs in my basement and I'd fall asleep on the floor with candles surrounding me. I was just all into this whole thing. I trained in martial arts, because you guys know I do martial arts and all that stuff. And I was just always into that. But I was always curious about the book of Revelation, which I shouldn't have read. But one night, I actually was reading it, and I was reading about the mark of the beast, which is the mark of the beast is just going to be, it's just going to be so horrific. It's not even going to be funny. But they talk about its mark, and in the King James, they said it's 6 3 score 6. So I thought to myself, 6 3 score 6, huh? Everybody knows that 666. Why would you get 666 on your forehead or tattooed on your right hand? That's so stupid. And of course, you guys remember now, this is in the late 90s when I was thinking about this. And I was like, 666, 6 3 score 6, whatever. And literally, I went into a meditative state. And this is why I say Hollywood knows a lot about the demonic influence, because within an instant, I was actually out of my physical body. And I tried to open my eyes up, but I could barely open, like I was squinting. But when I did, this is what freaked me out Avengers Endgame. You guys know that scene where Captain America gets beat up by Thanos, and then Thanos calls his whole army in, and then Captain America actually gets up, puts his broken shield up, and then they show a view of them. They look like little specks or whatever, but it shows this whole background and stuff. I seen that, and that's where I was at, and it freaked me out because when I saw that scene looked like the place I was in, except for it was a lot darker. I'd say about 10 times darker, but you could still see the things around you. And I was literally paralyzed. I mean, I couldn't move, and I felt like I was in the ocean, and this water was literally up to my chest, and my hands were like sticking up like this, like I had fallen, and my hands were like up when I fell down. You guys know if you fall in the water, your hands are like this up in the air. But I was sitting up there, but I felt my feet like dangling, like this is the water, and my feet were dangling like this. So I felt my feet dangling, but this water was covering me up. And I all of a sudden felt one hand pull on me, then another hand, then three or four hands, and it was a whole bunch of hands pulling on my feet, pulling me underneath this water. And this water came from here, and I couldn't move. And it got here on my face, and then it got here close to my mouth. And I said, oh man, if this water gets in my mouth, I'm gonna drown. So I tried to tilt my head back just to buy me another few seconds from the water getting in my mouth, but the water still seeped in. But it wasn't water, it was actually blood, and I tasted the blood. Hey, what's going on? I know you're probably coming in like, what are you talking about blood? I'm telling about a testimony when I saw Christ for the first time. But basically, when the blood touched my mouth, all of a sudden, it was thick blood too. I saw a Bible open up in front of me, and it read Acts, and it said, those who call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. And I said, oh, Lord Jesus, please save me. And over to my right, I saw a bright outline of a figure. And if you guys go to my apparel store, you'll see I have a T-shirt that actually kind of replicates that. But it was a bright outline of a figure, real bright. And he came and took me out, and actually literally put me back in my body. Now, some people say you were dreaming. I wasn't dreaming. It was realer than anything else. And I felt the right hand in my side, and I felt the hand kind of pull out. And then I jumped up, and my room was just bright. I mean, it was just crazy bright, like I've never seen it before. It wasn't a bright that would hurt you, but it was like that would hurt your eyes. But it was just really bright. And that's when I didn't know what it was. I went to my church, and my church didn't know. And that's when I started, like, I heard the Holy Spirit talk to me. I didn't know it was the Holy Spirit, but they didn't help me out. And that's what kind of frustrated me at that time with that church, because I'm going through all this stuff and they're not helping me out. So that's the testimony of that. So what's going on, Tommy? Somebody asked me about, I told them I saw Christ, and they were asking me what he looked like. So I was giving my testimony of why I saw Jesus Christ. Yeah, Thanos was the man. I don't know about this whole I don't know about this whole Kane the Conqueror, because he got beat up by Ant-Man. Me and some friends were debating about that. Like, dude, you got beat up by Ant-Man. You lost to Ant-Man. Yeah, you ain't no conqueror. I mean, this Kane the Conqueror done killed Thor and stuff. He's done killed so many Avengers, and you got beat up by Ant-Man. I don't know about that whole portrayal of Kane the Conqueror. It got too Disney-fied again. I would have enjoyed it more if Ant-Man had died, and then they said it was an alternate universe Ant-Man, not the main Ant-Man or something like that. But that's just me. I was walking out that movie theater upset. Yeah, it is. Someone says it's very hard to hang on to faith when you're a scientist. It is, but I mean, the proof and evidence is out there. A lot of scientists want physical proof, but it's kind of out here everywhere. I mean, a lot of scientists have come to the conclusion that there is, and some have come to the conclusion that there isn't. So it's not up to me to convince anybody. So first time I'm seeing you live. Well, welcome in, Tommy. Appreciate you joining in. We've been live for an hour and 24 minutes, so we will be live for another 6 minutes or so. So Honorable said he had a dream the world ended and everything went dark, and I was traveling through what seemed like a wormhole. Woke up with ring butterflies. Never had a dream like that one. I've had dreams of UFOs and aliens. I don't know. I hope they didn't try to abduct me, but I've had some interesting symbolic dreams. I haven't had too many lately, but I've had a lot of different dreams before. Um, I've had dreams of animals talking. I've had dreams of. I see why when the Bible talks about particular animals having the face of a man, because I've seen what that can somewhat look like. I've seen. Um, it looked like it was a knight, basically, but it was a knight, but it had a lion that was in the night. He was looked like basically a Thundercat, but he looked more realistic. So I've seen stuff like that, and I've seen that. So it's been interesting. It's interesting what our dreams can tell us. Is that stuff in our minds, or is that stuff trying to reveal to us stuff of the future? We don't know. I mean, I've known you guys know about astral projecting. I know people that can astral project and stuff are used to astral project. They don't do it anymore. So Ray says he keeps having dreams about Mother Earth is angry. So 630 says, I think when Thanos crushed part of that planet and threw it to the earth, through the Avengers, that's what God. Yeah, Sodom and Gomorrah is interesting too. That's another story where they're talking about UFOs and stuff. But if people read the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, they will actually see that there was no talk of any craft or anything in there. There was just talk. Sodom, like I said, guys, if the Bible was made into a movie, it would be X rated because Sodom and Gomorrah was pretty bad. I mean, I don't, I could say this on YouTube without, I guess, getting flagged, but there were actually men trying to rape other men. That's basically what that was. Um, so was it Jacob brought two men in town? It was basically two angels from God, and they were actually coming down to see if Sodom and Gomorrah was as bad as they said it was. And he brought them to his house. And the story goes that the men of the town came to his house, banging on his door, and said, "Hey, give us those two men that came into town." So a lot of times these angels or angelic beings look like regular men, probably structured well, all that stuff, and they wanted to take the men out and rape them. Basically, what was going on? It's really weird. And he actually said, "Well, take my daughter. Here's my daughters. She's virgin." They didn't want them. They wanted the actual men. That's how crazy Sodom and Gomorrah was. And no, Lot. I'm sorry, not Lot. I said Jacob was Lot. But Lot told him to take my daughter. It's a whole story behind that, and that'll be on my Christianity channel when I talk about that because I think a lot of Christians are not talking about this stuff. I think that everyone needs to hear about this stuff that happened out there. But I mean, that's another instance, and they told him to turn away, and they actually got away. Lot and his family, and his wife's the one that turned around, and she turned into a pillar of salt. Now, how symbolic that is stuff, I don't know. But the city was destroyed. I mean, and it got destroyed so bad that Lot and his two daughters thought that there was nobody else left on the earth. That had to be a pretty bad destruction to look at. And then, of course, they got their father drunk, and it's stuff with that. But that's the stuff I think that people need to know about and people need to hear about. And that's probably something I'll put on that other channel when I get started because it's stuff that people need to know. So anyway, back to some of this. After some extensive photo review, I detected spheres inside the cube. Yeah, you're talking about the ones that fly around. I've heard of different things with them. I've heard that it's a cube shape with the circular inside, and I heard vice versa. Like I said, someone said they were transporting stuff. I don't know. Regardless, it's interesting to see that stuff and people filming that. I haven't heard anybody that's been a whistleblower talk about those. It'd be interesting. It would be good for Bob Lazar to see because maybe what we're seeing is maybe a cube around it. Maybe it's a distortion field around that particular whatever it is flying around. It'd be interesting to know. But what's interesting is where every time you see that, you don't see the distortion field around those objects flying around. Some people say they saw a cube around it, or they'll see a circular object with the cube inside of it or something. Maybe it's a cube inside, and the circular around that cube inside is actually a distortion field. But yeah, the ancient alien stuff, because the History Channel has really messed some stuff up. They really, really have. I mean, if you're gonna say something, back it all up with scripture. Don't just tell certain parts. Talk from the very beginning to the very end. And that's why we like the White Files. He goes from the very beginning to the very end of what we know, and then he debunks it. And then he tells his opinion on it and stuff. Some of the stuff that he's put out there, he hasn't been able to debunk. He's not skeptical of, but it's been interesting. But that's why I think we like, of course, that and Hecklefish. So Yep. It could be all kinds of stuff. So, well, guys, I am going to get off of here. It's been live for an hour and a half. I will try to work on a video in the next couple of days, make it a little bit longer. I guess I'll start on the ARV vehicle, and how they actually function and work, and put some information out there about some ARVs, RAM, and then some other patents and technology on some of that stuff that those people were trying to create and put out there, and they just kind of disappeared. I hate to say it like that, but they all disappeared. So yeah, I'm gonna get into all these cases. I'm gonna go back here and look at what's going on, and I'll probably just do some overviews of the case. I gotta finish downloading the rest of this software I got to make the videos a little bit more entertaining, because I know that's what we all want anyway. I don't have a hecklefish, but we'll see what goes on. So anyway, as always, I appreciate you guys watching and supporting the channel. I will make this t-shirt. I'll quit my yapping pretty soon. I got to figure out a character for it and put that out there. So peace out, y'all, and I will see you guys in a couple of days.